think I'm being a bit general here. This is a short video about social media at the Edinburgh Fringe, and it's particularly aimed at beginners, so I'm keeping things fairly simple. But there's a real danger at the Edinburgh Fringe that you start just, I'm going to use a bit of a difficult word for this context, vomiting content all over your friends, particularly who are back home, who like what you do, but you have little impact actually in terms of selling tickets to your show, generating revenue, getting reviewer interest. You have to be really focused at the Edinburgh Fringe, particularly when there's not a lot of time. If I'm sounding a bit out of breath, I'm climbing at the moment a bit on my walk into the city. So let's focus particularly around TikTok and Instagram, because they seem to be the two main channels that really come alive during the Fringe, and statistics would back that up as well. So if you're a bit of a legacy social media user and you've been on Facebook and you've got 400 followers, I'm going to suggest that has very little impact, particularly if it's just your friends from home who are giving you lots and lots of encouraging likes but have no intention or ability to actually come and see your show. Let's imagine you're on TikTok, you're recording a little video, a little reel on Instagram, then it's before you pressing publish or post, you've got a couple of real opportunities here. One is through hashtags, and hashtags are the sort of trending theme words, the phrases that if somebody is following that particular phrase, such as Ed Fringe, which is very general, or Ed Fringe 2025 seems to be trending quite a bit at the moment, as does Ed Fringe 25. You're going to attach that hashtag phrase to your post before you press post. Now my suggestion with these is pretty simple. You've got the opportunity for several. This year I would say absolutely do hashtag Ed Fringe. Some people are doing hashtag Edinburgh Fringe. That's got quite a lot of trending. Hashtag Ed Fringe 25, hashtag Ed Fringe 2025, and see what kind of likes and followership you're getting from those. Followership is people following you. I would also suggest, if you're hoping to get a review, then hashtag genre and hashtag new writing is pretty good. Hashtag world premiere is one that's happened, I think a couple of years ago it started to appear, but it's around the idea that people are looking for freshness, originality and newness at a Fringe with thousands of shows where quite a lot of people just bring the same thing back again and again. So hashtags around themes. There might be more focused themes like hashtag verbatim theatre. If it's improv, it might be hashtag long form improv, not just improv. So where you can focus specifically, that would be useful. And it's useful simply because it helps people navigate your social media, and you suddenly appear in posts and trends because other people reshare them, because it's what they're interested in as well. So that's your hashtags. If you go further into how can you kind of target, and I think you have to be a bit respectful and careful here, we've got the @ which is called the mention, and so @ Fringe Review. Actually, I think our designation is Fringe Review UK on Instagram. That comes to our notice, or is more likely to. And so that's about signalling you to someone or an organisation more specifically. And as long as you do it in a way that is well chosen. So I don't think Mary Jones wants to be constantly mentioned by you. Do it in a focused, respectful way. Mentioning can be really useful. You can mention the reviewer. If it's likely they're going to be interested, mention the organisation. And again, if it's around a theme, what you do is you might mention a publication or a venue that takes particular kinds of shows. You might also think beyond the Fringe and mention people that might not be at the Edinburgh Fringe, but that you might have spoken to before, who run a particular venue. Similarly with that's the mentions. With the hashtags, you might do hashtag rural touring. You might do hashtag for a very particular initiative that's also happening, that's become a hashtag in its own right. So there might be a particular festival that's not only got a name, a username, but it's also a hashtag in its own right. Hashtag Adelaide Fringe. It won't be useful for you to put at a mention of Edinburgh Fringe. I'm not sure they even read them, they're too busy. I wouldn't put at Adelaide Fringe, but you might at a much smaller fringe which has got a username like Tunbridge Wells Fringe. Might actually be both. You'll notice that they trend on their hashtag, but actually the username is the name of their fringe, and that's a person that may well read it. So getting a bit careful at the end of each post. Don't throw them away. I would say, what would be the 2 or 3 maximum hashtags that you would also put in that post, and what might be 1, 2, maximum 3 mentions. So get control, but what I suggest you don't do is sit down over a coffee and do what cats do, which is just spray your social media everywhere. Really here, get the best out of your time and be focused. And it can be quite enjoyable, because when you notice that someone's reshared your post because you got it right, it's a bit like something that's a bit blurred at the start becomes clearer and clearer. I'm out of breath because I've been climbing up to Nicholson Street and not yet climbing up Arthur's Seat. Have a great Fringe.